Welcome back to Highway Farty. My name is Don, and better late than never. Today I am going to talk about my number 2 St. Louis movie, The Great St. Louis Bank Robbery. Now, let me just tell you right off the bat, this movie is schlock. It's a terrible, terrible movie. Horrible movie. Gets horrible reviews and pretty much has been lost to history. To history everywhere but here in St. Louis, of course. Because what this movie lacks in plot, it makes up for in location photography. Great St. Louis Bank Robbery, 1959. Directed by a St. Louisan, Charles Guggenheim. Guggenheim would have been living here at the time of the crime on which this movie is based. He was the first station director of KETC Television, the public TV station here in St. Louis, Channel 9. Guggenheim was the first station manager. And so because he would have been living here at the time working in that capacity, he would have been intimately familiar with the details of the crime on which the movie is based. And for the most part, he does a pretty good job of sticking close to the historical record and telling the story about the crime. Now, perhaps what this movie is most noted for, however, is it is the first starring role, first big role, for the great Steve McQueen. I love Steve McQueen. Anything Steve McQueen does, I'm going to watch. This was his first role. Steve McQueen, the king of cool, that's what they called him, became the coolest actor in Hollywood, highest paid actor in the world in the 1970s, in the early 1970s. And this was his first ever big role. So that alone is worth watching the movie for. Now, where I am located right now, because I'm going to be all over town today, I'm just going to warn you ahead of time, a lot of location changes, but I'm over on the Illinois side of the river. That's the Eads Bridge. And over there, I think you can see the Veterans Bridge. Back then is what it was called. Today it's called the King Bridge. Now Guggenheim, and in a minute we're going to go get a closer look at these bridges, but Guggenheim makes the director's choice to use all the bridges leading into St. Louis in the 1950s as the way of starting his movie. Right out of the box, we get heavy location, St. Louis location in this movie. And he chooses to use all 4 bridges leading into the St. Louis area to illustrate a point that was in fact a fact about this crime. All 4 of the conspirators in this crime came to St. Louis separately. They came from Chicago. They came to town specifically for one reason and one reason only, and that was to rob a bank. And so Guggenheim illustrates the fact of their separateness by showing them arriving separately on all 4 of the bridges leading into St. Louis from Illinois. So now let's go up on the bridges so I can talk a little bit more about them. So I'm going to walk across to the middle of the Eads Bridge and talk a little bit about the movie. Look at this, by the way. Look at this. Wow. Please. Hi. Okay. Eads Bridge. It is the most significant bridge in the movie. Give you a shot of it here. It is also the most significant bridge in the St. Louis area. And it is also one of the most architecturally significant bridges in the world. And I am not overstating that. You will find it written up in a lot of architectural textbooks for reasons that I cannot get into here. But just know this is a big deal. This bridge is a big, big deal. It was built in 1874, and people lost their lives building this bridge. And in the movie, as you will see, as I cut back and forth between what the city looks like today and what the movie looks like, you will see the Eads Bridge depicted a number of times. It is a St. Louis treasure. Now in the movie, you'll notice the downtown. Obviously, the Gateway Arch was not there at the time. The movie was shot in 1958, 1959. The arch wasn't completed until 1966. Or maybe it was 65. I don't know. It was before my time, I know that. The arch has been here my whole life. But it was not always so. And in the movie, as they drive into St. Louis, you do not see the arch. But you do get to see what the city looked like back in the 1950s, which was quite cool. And if you look closely in this shot, you will see the Admiral. The SS Admiral was a stainless steel Art Deco excursion riverboat that stayed here on the St. Louis riverfront going all the way back to the 1940s. It ran trips up and down the river, dinner cruises, jazz cruises, brunch cruises, you name it. And in one of the biggest F-ups in St. Louis history, the city fathers of St. Louis let the thing go to the point where it had to be scrapped. It was a shame because it provided a perfect complement to the stainless steel of the Gateway Arch. Also in this shot, let's back up so you can see it, there's the Goldenrod riverboat, the Goldenrod showboat they called it. This was a vaudeville showboat, went all the way back into the 1920s. And it was the Goldenrod that was actually the inspiration for the Broadway musical Showboat, the famous musical. The one where Paul Robeson sang, Old Man River. Boy, the riverfront looks terribly barren without the Admiral and the Goldenrod and some of the other boats that used to be here. Used to have a riverboat McDonald's here. That's where I used to take my dates in high school. We'd come to the riverboat McDonald's. It's a cheap date, but it offered a fantastic view. It was right in front of the arch. So for the price of a Big Mac, you could have the full romantic experience. All right, this is as good a place as any to stop. And as you can see, we do have a little riverboat excursion going on today, so that's kind of cool. So I want to talk about the bridges in the movie. The movie opens with that bridge in the distance there. Now it looks like there's traffic moving on that bridge, the one with the three arches in the background there. That's the MacArthur Bridge, and it is closed to vehicular traffic. It's only a freight bridge today. But it's the opening shot of our movie. Now it looks like there's traffic moving on the bridge, doesn't it? That's because directly in front of it, as we're looking at it, is the Poplar Street Bridge, which was completed in 1967, well after the movie was made, and it remains today the most busy bridge into the St. Louis area. So it's kind of a trick of the eyes to think that there was traffic moving on the MacArthur Bridge. So that's the opening shot of the movie. Another bridge you see in the movie is this one. That is what was then called the Veterans Bridge. Today it is called the Martin Luther King Bridge. And it is from that bridge that you get the best view of the bridge that I am standing on right now. You get the best view of the... Pardon me. Pardon me again. You get the best view of the Eads Bridge from the Veterans Bridge. And so I am going to drive across that one for us. There's that shot from the movie. That's the Eads Bridge next to us there. So one of the crooks came in on the Eads, one of them came in on the Veterans. And now we're going to go up to the McKinley. Very few people take this way into town anymore. But in the 1950s, it would have been a major entrance into the city. So in the movie, our conspirators, having arrived in St. Louis separately, meet for the first time here, across the street from their mark, which was Southwest Bank. Well, 3 of the 4 of them do anyway, in the movie. There's a reason why all 4 don't meet here, and it has to do with needing to have a big reveal for the star of the movie, Steve McQueen, which we will soon see in our next location, which is where I will introduce the conspirators to you by using their real names. But this is where, in the movie, this is where they meet. It's kind of a circle drive. The row of shops you see in the shot is gone today. It would be here, which is today a branch of the St. Louis Public Library. Now, this is a highly visible location in St. Louis. The main street is Kings Highway. This is Vandeventer Street heading to the northeast. Is that right, northeast? Yeah, to the northeast. Here's Southwest heading to the southwest. And here is Shenandoah Avenue, which leads into a residential section. All of those things are pretty much the same today as they were back then when the movie was being made. A little flavor of the neighborhood. As a frame of reference, right across the street, you see Don Brown Chevrolet. Don't worry, I will be back here extensively when I talk about the crime itself. Okay, let's head to the next location. Let's get in the car. Hey, Google.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Direct me to the east entrance of Tower Grove Park. It says the fastest route now is difficult due to traffic conditions. Okay. That's all right. Speed bump.
Turn left onto South Vandeventer Avenue, then slide left onto South Kings Highway Boulevard. At the light, turn left onto Magnolia Avenue. Continue on Magnolia Avenue for 1.5 miles.
Oh, that shade feels wonderful. Now we're heading to Tower Grove Park for a reason. This is where the entire robbery was planned in excruciating detail. Nothing has really changed about this neighborhood.
In 1,000 feet, turn right onto South Grand Boulevard.
Left onto Pestalozzi Street. What way are they taking me? Oh. I think Google's screwing me again.
Nothing's playing right now.
What do you mean nothing's playing right now? You told me to go left on Pestalozzi Street. This goes the opposite direction from the park. I don't get this. I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. Sorry, Google. I'm doing my own thing now.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto Virginia Avenue.
Oh, this, I don't even...
100 feet, turn left onto Arsenal Street.
Oh, jeez.
At the light, turn left onto Arsenal Street.
I think Google has short-circuited on me. No wonder it said conditions were difficult when you give crap directions.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Virginia Avenue.
All right. Once again, we're going to get the scenic tour. There's not even a sign at this intersection. I'm not understanding why it's taking me all this far out of the direction that we were just there. Here's Virginia Avenue.
Take the next left onto Virginia Avenue, then you'll arrive at your destination.
Then I will arrive at my destination?
You have arrived.
Sorry, but this is not my destination. Although I see a great sign here. Hold on a second. Detour, detour, got a sign, detour. That's a great sign. On the side of the Shaved Duck restaurant on Pestalozzi, and I don't even know what I'm on, Virginia. Look at that sign. That's a beauty. And it's hard to see what's underneath it there. This is going to happen a lot with me. I gotta warn you. Whenever I see a sign, I have to stop and look and see what that's all about. But now we're going to try to get to Tower Grove Park. I'm just going to go the only way I know how to go there. Hell with this mapping thing. All right. Pestalozzi Street is the street that Anheuser-Busch is located on, but much further away from where we are. There's another one of these things they put in the middle of the intersection. These planters, hate these things. They're designed to keep people from speeding through here and drag racing. So because some people can't follow the law, we have to negotiate these stupid things. Oh, as if they painted the speed bumps. Technically, they're speed humps, according to the sign. Somebody wrote "me now" underneath hump. Oh. All right. I can already tell I'm going to have to split this thing into two sections because I'm taking too long. Tower Grove Park is a Victorian masterpiece, an architectural marvel. It is, I believe, the most beautiful park in St. Louis. And I'm going to find a shade tree to pull over and have a few words with you. You and I are going to have a few words. Holy cow. Well, I got to tell you, I am so discombobulated right now. With all these wild Google chases and driving over bridges a couple of times, walking across bridges, GoPro overheats. I'm just all over the place today. I'm like a cheap suit. I am all over the place. You know, the St. Louis Browns, here I'm going all over the place with this story, but indulge me. The St. Louis Browns used to have a pitcher, a guy by the name of Rube Waddell, one of the best pitchers in the history of baseball. He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame today. And Rube Waddell was unhittable. You couldn't beat the guy unless you could get inside his head and make him lose focus. And Rube Waddell was known to lose focus quite often. He would get fixated on shiny objects. And soon, opposing teams' fans started to learn that. And they began bringing to the park, whenever Rube Waddell would pitch, they began bringing to the park these little trinkets they'd keep in the stands. They'd swing them in the background, you know, catching the shimmer of the light, and they knew Rube would see it eventually. Or they'd bring puppies and kittens, and eventually he'd see it, and he'd leave the pitching mound, he'd go over to the railing, and look at the little puppy, I want to pet the puppy. He's so cute, I'm going to call him George. His name is George. My new friend is George. That was Rube Waddell. His biggest weakness, however, was for fire engines. If a fire engine went by and he was pitching a game, he was known to run off the mound in the middle of the game and chase down the fire engine and jump on the back of it and go help the firefighters put out the blaze. And so as soon as Rube Waddell left the field to play, the game was over. Today I am Rube Waddell. This game is over. I need to refocus. I need to take a break. Before I do, though, I want to show you the shiny object that I noticed when I was turning into this park just a few minutes ago, actually. I haven't forgotten we're talking about a movie here, by the way.
Hello?
Hello to you, too. Look at these things. I've never noticed these before. Can you see them? May have to cut to them. These are so cool. I have never noticed these before until I was driving into the park to reenact the scene from the movie where the conspirators turn into Tower Grove Park and they pull in this grand entrance. So I was trying to replicate their trip, and as I drove into the park, I caught these shiny objects. Well, they're not shiny. These are griffins, by the way. Now, I'm no expert in mythology, but I know my griffins from my gargoyles, and these are definitely griffins. They are so neat. Look at that beautiful butterfly. Look at this. Look at this, all these monarch butterflies. See, I'm totally becoming Rube Waddell. If Rube Waddell were here today, he would be loving these butterflies. Wow, this is so cool. See what I mean? I'm all over the map today. But talking about these griffins, I'm just going to read it straight from the robot. The griffins of Tower Grove Park are large painted zinc sculptures of griffins, a mythical creature that adorn the east gate entrance to the park on Grand Avenue. Designed and installed in the 1870s by Henry Shaw, the park's founder, these distinguished gateways are made of zinc and are considered some of the most important outdoor zinc sculptures in the country. The symbolism. Griffins symbolize vigilance in medieval mythology. The sculptures are made of zinc, we already heard that, and are part of a set of decorative figures including lions and stags designed in Berlin. I have to go find the stags and the lions now. The significance. They are a prominent feature of the East Gate entrance, which was designed... I just love it when the phone goes dark when you're trying to... They are a prominent feature of the East Gate entrance, which was designed as a formal entrance for vehicular traffic into the park, showcasing the late 19th century landscape architecture. Built between 1870 and 1872, the East Gate was a gift from Henry Shaw, who also donated the land for the park in 1868. Tower Grove Park is a historic park and a National Historic Landmark. I promise I'm not going to get too far off track this next time, because where I have to go, literally, is right there. I mean, I am right on top of it. Not those porta potties, by the way, although come to think of it, but if you look past the porta potties, that's where we're going in the next episode. I can't get too far off track, can I? Thank you for joining me on Highway Farty. I will see you soon over there. Bye-bye.